Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Health. Today we have a renowned endocrinologist among us. He's Dr. Sandeep Kharb. He's a renowned endocrinology and metabolic disorder specialist, currently working at QRG Health City, Faridabad. He's been in this field for over 15 years now and has enormous experience with him. He specializes in treating patients with diabetes, thyroid disorders, growth retardation, obesity, osteoporosis, and reproductive endocrine problems. He has studied from reputed institutes of the country, and he's currently part of multiple national and international conferences, seminars, and has presented papers as well. Dr. Sandeep Kharb has also published a book on sexuality in elderly and thyroid function test pitfalls and dilemmas. It's related to mucormycosis. Is it really something for everyone to worry about?
So firstly, it is not something for everyone to be worried about. That's the first thing. We don't need to panic so much. Mucor as a fungus, it's present everywhere actually around us. And most of us have some mucor in nasal cavities. So it is there. But the thing is that it is not very, very infective as such. Our immune system is very efficient in kind of controlling it. So most of us, we don't suffer from any complications because of it. It just stays there. The problem why kind of panic has arisen right now is that because of the COVID situation and patient developing diabetes and the uses of steroids and other reasons, the risk is actually going up. So that is creating panic. The biggest problem with mucormycosis is that it's not a disease which never happened earlier. Even prior to this, we have been seeing occasional mucormycosis cases.
Okay.
But yes, the cases have increased significantly in recent times because of having a disease like COVID, utilization of oxygen there, perhaps then high usage. Maybe prolonged uses of steroids, maybe right or wrong is very difficult to say, but prolonged uses of steroids in patients. And then patient being immunocompromised as well, like patients of diabetes, patient post-transplant and things like that. So the why panic has actually happened with mucor, I feel, is that once a patient develops an invasive mucormycosis, it's quite fatal. So not everybody needs to panic, but yes, we need to be very, very careful about wrong or prolonged unnecessary uses of certain medicines.
So sir, how infectious is mucormycosis?
See, Satvinder, the mucormycosis is not an infectious disease as such. As I said earlier, most of us are having mucor in our nasal cavities. And it's not that if a person has mucormycosis and I go close to him, even if I examine him very closely, I will not acquire mucormycosis. I mean, some spores may come inside me, but when I have a normal immunity, I won't suffer from it. So there is no need to panic regarding this. The only thing is that we need to be careful and we need to pick up mucormycosis very early in the stage so that we can kind of treat it in a very early stage and nip it there only.
And sir, why is it that diabetics are at more risk of this infection?
See, so all the diabetics, they have some degree of, when sugars are not controlled, they have some degree of immunosuppression. In presence of high sugar levels, there is some change in like antibacterial, antiviral activity in the body. So they are more prone to develop antifungal also. So diabetics are more prone to develop these infections. Also, when a patient, as I was discussing too regarding that ketone formation in the body in diabetics when there is another infection inside. So if a diabetic patient develops high level of ketones in the body, there is some sort of acid production also, what we call as acidosis. Now this acidic pH, if it is there and it coexists with high sugar levels, which is common with diabetic patients, that serves a very good milieu for growth of mucor.
Why is mucormycosis dangerous?
This fungus, it kind of grows very rapidly. And it's being an invasive, see what it does actually, mucormycosis, why it's a serious illness is that it starts affecting or getting into the blood vessels. So when the fungus goes inside the blood vessels, it blocks those blood vessels.
Okay.
And because there is no blood flow to that area where it is, like suppose if it is there in the nose, or around that area in sinuses. Sinuses are cavities in the face, around nose. So when the fungal starts growing in the sinuses, it fills up the sinuses very rapidly. And then it starts blocking the blood vessels. When the blood vessels, because the blood doesn't come up, then it starts eroding the bone also. And even I saw a case today, because my ENT colleague had asked me to come and opine on another case. He was a diabetic as well. We could see that the palate actually, the sinus, because palate was completely eroded. And so either when this erosion starts, because in these nasal cavities, so if the erosion starts and it comes on the lower side, then the palate gets eroded. If it goes on the sides or on the upper side, it goes into the eyes, because bone is the thing which separates this nasal cavity from eyes orbits. So, and if it goes even further, it can go into the brain. And it becomes a very, very fatal kind of a situation. So we need to diagnose it as soon as possible and tackle it as soon as possible. And then it becomes a big problem. So that's a problem with mucor.
The headaches that you mentioned, sir, like the typical headaches that you might have because of cervical or let's say other problems, the pain in case of mucormycosis is the same. I'm just trying to elaborate what the symptoms are.
The pain actually will be localized to more in the frontal area, like frontal is just above the orbit, both the orbits, and in between eyes and lips. So in this area, this is the area where pain will be localized in most of the cases.
And it's excruciating?
No, it is usually dull aching pain.
Okay. Okay. So it's not that you will, it will not be unbearable, but you just...
No, usually not.
What are the possible treatment of mucormycosis?
See, once a diagnosis of mucor is made, and which usually entails use of MRI brain or CT scan brain, MRI of face and brain and CT scan of face and brain, there is a tissue should be taken, and there is some staining which can be done, and it can be grown in culture. So once the diagnosis is made, it's a disease which needs hospitalization. There is nothing to be done at home. One should go to hospital, get admitted, because the treatment needs an aggressive surgery along with injectable antifungal treatment. Now, once the disease gets controlled, which takes actually weeks, then there are some oral medicines also which can be used.
Okay.
But in initial stages, it's a disease which needs very aggressive management in the form of hospitalization, surgery, and injectable therapy like liposomal amphotericin B. Once it is controlled after a few weeks, then yes, there are antifungal tablets also, which can be used and which usually need to be used for long periods, up to months.
Any ways to prevent it, sir, for the patients who have sort of been discharged from hospital?
So first and foremost would be to maintain good sugar control if somebody is diabetic. Second would be avoiding unnecessary prolonged use of steroids. So that is something which will go a long way. And like if there is a patient who is already immunocompromised due to, like, patient is a post-transplant patient or patient is a cancer patient. So in these patients, keeping a very high index of suspicion is something which will go a long way. So diagnosing it again, explaining the symptom to the patient, following up regularly will be quite helpful.
Okay. Moving on to the next question, sir. A lot of diabetics today are taking up keto diet. Does it have any adverse impact in case of mucor or in case of COVID? Is a person more prone to be getting infected because of any change in such diets?
See, when one is on keto diet, it implies that there is a high protein diet with very less of minimum carbohydrate. So these patients, they will have high levels of keto acids in the body. And as I said earlier as well, that acidosis or high acid levels in a body, they work as a very fertile ground for mucormycosis.
Okay.
So it can be detrimental, especially in presence of diabetes, to a patient, and the chances of one developing mucormycosis may increase when one is on keto diet, especially in these times. especially once you are recovering from COVID, there is no point going for keto diet. Actually, one should actually take more of carbohydrate based diet, which gives you very rapid energy. So this is something which should be preferred actually.
So this is the last question, and this is specifically for younger people or kids. We have seen a huge spike in the diabetes level of school-going kids as well, and students who are in colleges. So, and again, as the third wave is expected to hit with a lot of impact on the younger generation, how is it that for such generation, what would you suggest for them, either to have a diabetes test or how to be more cautious about it?
I think, see, Satyendra, what I have seen, even like I don't have a very, very long many years of practice. But even earlier, when I was doing my MBBS, diabetes in childhood used to be a type 1 diabetes wherein there was insulin deficient and patients used to be lean. But in last decade or 2 decades, what I have been seeing is that obesity is going up at a very, very high rate, even in children. And because of this obesity, the children are developing diabetes, type 2 diabetes. So if anybody who's obese, there is something called body mass index. It can be calculated like if there is a formula, you can use any application also. And if the BMI is more than 25, and if there is any risk factor, which I mentioned earlier, there is no age cutoff. Anybody can be screened for diabetes. At the same time, the thing I think which is going to protect us or our children actually would be vaccination. May I take this opportunity to kind of suggest and request each and everyone that all of us should get vaccinated as soon as possible. And for children also, I think in very near future, we will have vaccines available for children more than 12 years of age. So we should not delay vaccination, as and when it is available. There should be no inertia on our part. We should take the vaccine. That is something which will prevent each and everyone, whether one is diabetic or not, whether one has low immunity or not. At least the severity of disease, we have learned over a period of time, is much less in people who are vaccinated versus who are not.
That's a very important message, sir. With that, I have run out of the questions that I had with me. So I really thank you once again for being part of this discussion. And I hope and I pray that everybody stays safe. And thanks once again, sir, for your time.
Absolutely my pleasure, Satyendra. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.